Okay, this week we're going to dig right into Luke. So we've talked about Matthew and Jesus as the Messiah for the Jews. We've talked about Mark and how Jesus was the suffering servant. And now we're digging into Luke and Jesus and his good news for the Gentiles, for the non-religious people. And so we're going to talk about Luke 2 and Luke 19. And we're going to challenge you guys today for what it looks like to apply this gospel to your life. But let's start with Luke 2.
Yeah, so in Luke 2, and this is really important, is Luke is a Gentile himself.
Right.
Writing this gospel to other Gentiles.
Yeah.
And so it becomes really important to figure out, what is Luke writing about? Who is Luke writing to? And so as we look at Luke chapter 2, we have the birth narrative of Jesus played out before us, right?
He's kind of setting the stage.
Right, exactly. And in Matthew, we have the stage set for a whole bunch of Jewish audience, right? But as we look at this one, this particular narrative in Luke, it's completely different. In fact, as you read through the narrative in chapter 2, you see that who shows up to the birth of Christ is shepherds.
Right.
Shepherds show up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're having shepherds show up to the birth of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
Right.
What is this?
Yeah.
And when the angels appear before the shepherds, they say this in verse 11. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is Christ the Lord. And that's the point that Luke is trying to get at, is that Christ is a Savior for these Gentiles, for those that normally most people wouldn't think that a king would come for.
A shepherd.
A shepherd of all people. And so that's where we start with this gospel and how we explore and open more into who Jesus is for the people.
Right.
Right, so then fast forward to Luke 19, verses 1 through 10, you have Zacchaeus, who's a tax collector. And he was not a religious man. He's not part of the religious elite. And Jesus says, Zacchaeus, I'm going to come and I'm going to have a meal with you and I'm going to spend some time with you.
Wow, how much would that have meant to a tax collector, someone who's kind of looked down on for the new prophet that's getting popular to say, I want to spend time with you?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then, the religious people, the religious elite of the time said, wait a minute, what's going on here? Does he not know that he's a sinner? And Jesus said, this is precisely the point. And then he addresses the elephant in the room. We all have a sin problem.
Right.
And religious people, non-religious people. So Jesus says, yes, Zacchaeus is a sinner. And I came to seek and save that which is lost. Jesus came to save sinners.
Wow. Yeah. So we get this picture in Luke of Jesus as the Savior for the regular person, and the person that sits next to you in class, and who's never been to church or doesn't know the gospel, or the person who's part of another religion that doesn't know Jesus. Jesus came to seek and to save the lost. Wow.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so Luke is one of the longest Gospels, and I would encourage you guys as we study each Gospel, try and read them. But Luke's kind of a hard one to read the whole thing in a week.
Right,
So take a shot at it. Look at the passages. We're studying Luke 2 this week. In the birth narrative, we're studying the story of Zacchaeus and the Pharisees in Luke 19. But also this week, I want to challenge you guys. Find someone in your life, a neighbor, a friend, someone that you work with or go to school with or play sports with, and have a conversation about Jesus. Yeah. You don't have to sell your church or convert them. Just have a conversation about Jesus, just like Luke was doing. A Gentile that was converted, sharing the gospel for Gentiles. And we will see you guys next week.